Start the broadcast. Okay, so we now are live on the internet, and I'm going to do an introduction, and then I'll cut the show down to the beginning of this introduction, and it's streaming on the internet. Good evening, and welcome to yet another episode of the Center for Lunar Science and Exploration Hangouts. This is a particularly exciting one because we have kids, proving that anyone of almost any age, you do have to be like old enough to think critically, but people of any age who can think critically can get involved in doing research. Now, if you don't know what these are about, this is a project that is part of the SSERVI network, which is studying the inner rocky worlds in our solar system and the small bodies and our moon. And once a month on a Wednesday night, we bring you live a chance to meet with people who are, well, discovering what there is still to learn about our moon and these small rocky worlds. Now, the group I have tonight is 3 high school students who are led by Richard Kurtz, who's a science teacher at Commack High School in Long Island, New York. Richard, I'm going to have you introduce your students, and thank you so much for joining us this evening.
So I have 3 students. Each of them is going to be in 11th grade in September. Delia, Levine, Karen, Integrity are my 3 students, and they've actually been with me since 9th grade.
So how exactly did you, as a high school teacher, realize it would be possible for you to get these 3 wonderful students that you've been working with involved in using spacecraft to explore our solar system?
Well, I often use the NASA. NASA puts out a weekly or bi-weekly information for teachers and community, and I spotted this program called ExMASS that was available to students, and I thought this is perfect for what I would love to have some students do, and that is an opportunity to work with scientists or scientists to do a project, a research project. And I was really motivated to get some students involved in the program. I did it 1 year, and then I did it last year. So, and I chose these students.
So science teachers are awesome. You're our heroes. I wouldn't be here without science teachers like you. But the real heroes tonight are Delia, Karen, and Pragati. So I want to hear from the 3 of you, and I'm going to start with Delia because you're on the left. I want to hear how you got involved, how it was for you to go home and tell your parents and tell your friends, I'm working on NASA research. So Delia, why don't you start us off?
Well, that was definitely awesome for me because I've always really liked space. So being able to come home and say, hi, I'm doing a project and I get to work with NASA was really exciting, definitely. I heard about the program from Mr. Kurtz through research, and then he kind of just asked me, like, hi, do you want to work on some research having to do with space? And I was like, yes, definitely. So
that is the correct answer. That is, in fact, the only answer to the question, do you want to work on research with space?
Yes.
Now, Karen, did you, when you started telling people, have any problems with people like not believing you that you were working on NASA research?
Not many of my friends were surprised because I've always been very excited about space, kind of obsessed with space. So a lot of my friends already knew that I loved space. So they weren't very surprised to hear that my research project was a NASA research project. My parents were pretty surprised. They were also very excited. They weren't sure if they believed me at first, but they were definitely very excited for me. They were very surprised.
So Pragati, did you have the same people struggling to believe you, but also not being surprised that these 2 had?
Actually, it kind of was more of a surprise for people because I've been doing a string of biology projects, but I've been kind of a secret space enthusiast on the side. So when Kurtz told me about this project, like I kind of like my when I was younger, I always wanted to like learn more about space. It was kind of just like jumped at the opportunity because I'm like this is my chance. I'm in high school and I can get involved in like this kind of research, and I probably will never get that chance again. So that's why my friends were like, wow, from bio to like, but it doesn't matter. Like I had a good time. So yeah.
So we haven't yet hit on the key point of what was your science project. Karen, do you want to give us a quick introduction to the science project?
Our project was mapping locations for mining water ice on the moon based on topographic, elemental, and economic data. So pretty much we highlighted areas on the moon that had high concentrations of hydrogen and oxygen and assumed these areas would be most likely to contain water ice. We mainly looked at the poles for two reasons. One, we found the highest amounts of hydrogen and oxygen, and two is because there is a theory that there are cold traps in these craters because these poles aren't really exposed to sunlight that often. So these would be the areas that would be able to contain water ice.
Now, this is the kind of research that requires chemistry, it requires economics, which I wasn't expecting to be something that you'd mention. It requires map reading, spectroscopy. How did you divide up the work between the three of you? Pragati, I'll go back to you.
Well, we're a pretty good team. We work really well together. Like we saw that from the start. Basically, we would spend hours in the research room after school using the program ArcGIS and waiting for it to load. We got a lot of help from mentors too through the program, and yeah, basically, it wasn't too hard to divide the work because we're a good team.
So, Delia, sorry, I mispronounced your name earlier.
Okay.
With dividing everything up, what was the hardest part of all of the things that you had to learn how to do? I know ArcGIS is the kind of software that has been known to make PhD students cry.
Yeah, that was definitely a difficult part, especially because since there was so much work to do, each of us had to focus on a different thing. So we all had to learn how to use the program, but some of us were spending more time with it than others. So then some of us were spending more time with other types of data than others. So we really had to be able to communicate really well because some of us, we'd all know different things. So it was definitely a struggle to be able to teach that, not only to ourselves, but then to teach it to each other. But it was definitely worth it. That's definitely a valuable skill that we got out of that.
So where on the moon do we need to go to find water?
The poles. We're definitely looking at the North Pole and the South Pole, and that all of our areas are between those two.
So this is open to whoever did this part of the project. How did economics fit into this?
Well, actually, economic feasibility was an additional part of our project to see if lunar ice mining would be feasible economically. What we would do is we would compare different American-based rockets and researched a bunch of types of fuel, amount of fuel, and you would determine the costs and decide which rocket would be the most feasible for a lunar mining mission.
That sounds good. Now, that means that you had to research the different kinds of rockets. Did you limit yourself to the rockets that we currently have, or did you include things like the upcoming Space Launch System or the Lunar Heavy, not Lunar Heavy, the Falcon Heavy that's coming up? What all did you include in your possibilities?
Well, actually, we did determine that the Space Launch System would be the best choice, even though it's upcoming, because based on our criteria, it would carry the amount of payload necessary for a mining mission, and it has the lowest cost per mission when put against the other rockets as well. So yeah, we did consider the SpaceX rockets as well. So yeah,
that's cool. Now, this research that you did you do most of it just for the SSERVI project, or did you also get to compete in the Science Olympics, or where all did this research take you, I guess?
We competed this project in the ExMASS competition, but we also did a bunch of local fairs. So we actually competed in 3 fairs just on Long Island and got to present it there as well. And we actually did manage to win something for one of them. So that was nice.
What did you win?
We won High Honors Award at the Long Island Science Congress.
That is pretty cool. Now, you're just going into 11th grade, and I know when I was going into 11th grade, I couldn't figure out if I wanted to go into biology. I was thinking of studying space medicine because that was a new field. I didn't know if I wanted to go into astronomy. I didn't know if I wanted to go into international relations. You have time. You can sort these things out and change your mind multiple times. But if you were forced to choose, what do you think you'd study in college right now? Pragati, I'll go to you and then to Karen.
Well, I'm not sure, but if I were forced to choose, I think biochemistry. I mean, I took chem this year as a sophomore, and I really enjoyed chemistry. Like, it was one of my favorite science classes, so that's what I would say for that. Yeah.
Awesome. What about you, Karen?
I think I'd choose computer engineering because I really do enjoy electrical engineering and computer science. So computer engineering is kind of a mixture of both.
And there's robots involved.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of robots. What about you, Delina?
Astrophysics, definitely.
Astrophysics.
Yeah.
Excellent, excellent. So at least one of you I might be seeing in my future.
Yeah.
Now, Richard, you're the one that spearheaded all of this, and I know a lot of teachers don't know about these kinds of opportunities. What are the kinds of things that you think other teachers need to know so that they can better get their own students involved?
I think you have to really pay attention to what's out there because there are a lot of hidden gems in terms of what students can get done and what they can do. So there's lots of websites and lots of personally I do a lot of searching the internet for ideas. Personally I do a lot of reading, a lot of investigating, reading journals, science websites to try and get some ideas and maybe kind of get to, I know my students really well, I think, so I kind of know how to, I think it's really important to be able to match your students with projects and other students that kind of can pull together and put something together like these girls have done.
So is this the kind of thing that it's going to cost teachers to get their students involved, or is it free for students in classrooms?
Okay, so most of the programs are, they don't cost money. For example, these guys, they won the contest, so they had a free trip to the Jet Propulsion Lab. But
excellent.
It really didn't cost us anything in terms of money. We did need to get some help from our school's tech department because they had to help us install the ArcGIS and maintain that and keep that going. But actually, there's a national program for any high school in the country to get free GIS, ArcGIS materials. So we just got everything for free. It's very expensive.
That's amazing. That software is an arm and a shoulder.
Yeah, right. But it's free to any high schools. So you just have to know how to go through the process of getting it. So it really didn't cost that much. The only time anything costs money is if the kids do well. Sometimes in science fairs, they often head up to other levels, like the national or international level. Sometimes you have to pay for flights and things like that for them. But if you get to that point, it's a great problem to have.
And it's also the kind of problem where often you can get your community to help out either through a pizza event at the local Pizza Hut, if those things still exist. So there's opportunities out there. Now, have you guys already got your trip to JPL? What all did you get to see while you were out there? Delina, I'll go to you first.
Actually, we went to attend the Exploration Science Forum at NASA Ames.
Okay.
And that was fantastic because high school students don't get to attend professional conferences, but we did, and we got to just sit and listen to all of the talks that were happening, and we got to participate in a poster session, so we were able to share our work with the people there and experience that high school students just don't get. And it was fantastic because it was, I mean, getting to speak with the people in the field that you want to work in is something that's really exciting.
So Karen, what were your impressions in Mountain View?
It was hard to believe that we were actually there. You know, after working on this project for so long, you know, that we were actually managed to go to the Ames forum. And, you know, I just couldn't believe we were there and like surrounded by all these professional scientists. And none of them like talked down to us or anything, because even though we were only high school students, they talked to us like we were fellow professionals. And like they treated us like, you know, like actual scientists, which is very amazing to like see that.
You are actual scientists. I just want to make this clear. You are scientists. So you just don't have as many publications yet, but you have years to get there. So what about you, Parati? What were your impressions?
I think the coolest thing about going to the forum was during the poster session, how we could connect one project with another. And it was more of a discussion rather than a competition. I mean, the contest was there, but it's almost like no one really cared about the contest. It was more about sharing research and going to someone else's poster and seeing what they're doing and how that connects to yours. And I think that was really cool. And we got to learn so much about communicating and how to network. And it was like a really great experience. So I'm so grateful.
You just identified one of the key parts of science that I think a lot of adults who've been doing this for years don't know how to articulate, and that's the fact that science is a competition insofar as we're competing for jobs, we're competing for resources, we're competing for grants. But once you get your seat at the table, we're all trying to do the same thing. We're trying to discover the unknowns about our universe, and it's through the linkages of my research to yours, to the other person down the aisle, that we're able to start to come up with new theories and new ideas. And it's awesome that you're realizing this just at the beginning, because it means you get to, well, work together while competing together for the rest of your lives, and realizing you can work together. Doing it young is important. It makes everything else easier. Now, getting to meet all of these other scientists, were you surprised by anything? Was there any particular talks that stood out, or experiences that stood out? Prati, I see you shaking your head yes.
Well, I think it was cool that there's actually a panel about water ice on the moon, and I think that was cool because how much it related to our project, and to hear like the questions and the different perspectives on that topic besides the ones that we have was really kind of cool to and listen to.
So what about the rest of you? Do you have anything that stood out that you want to add?
That's really kind of what I was going to say, was just the fact that, you know, when you go to a local science fair and you talk about, you know, trying to find water ice on the moon, that's a very far-fetched idea, and not many people really connect with that. But then when you go to a forum like this, where you have an entire panel of people who are working on the same thing that you are, like that definitely was both encouraging and really just awesome to see.
That, yes. Karen, do you have anything you'd like to add?
No, Delina pretty much said it all. Whenever we went to the fairs, people would say, oh, water ice on the moon, that seems very far in the future. How, like, there's water on the moon, but here at the fair, you know, everyone kind of knew that there was water on the moon and that it's in the near future that we could be mining it for resources. And I thought that was very exciting.
And what's kind of amazing is I remember in 2009 when we crashed LROC quite purposely into the moon so that we could measure the percent water that was in the debris that got tossed up. That was the first time we actually started directly measuring water within the soils of the moon. And now so much of our research focus is on, okay, we know there's water. Let's really understand the water well. And so you're right at the cutting edge of what, well, in science is new. I mean, science has been around for thousands of years, and at least for the past 400, we've been doing things methodically. And so it's only since 2009, since you guys have all been in school, that we've been trying to understand water. And this problem will still be there to work on if any of you decide to go into planetary science or resource mining on the moon. And what's cool is all of you are going into fields that will be necessary for this. So we have the astrophysics, which at the end of the day helps you understand the lunar environment. We have the computer engineering that allows you to build the hardware that does quite literally the heavy lifting. And then you have the biochemistry that allows us to figure out how to extract these complex organics from the minerals that they're embedded in. And so who knows, this collaboration that you started might end up recurring someday far in the future. Now, watching these kids do this, Richard, what have been the things that have struck you the most watching this?
Well, it was a very, very amazing experience for me to watch these guys evolve over time. Sort of like at the beginning, really tentative and weren't sure exactly what to do, and then they just started to really get it, and it was just there. They just ran with it. So it's kind of like I just had to leave them alone, get them some scheduled time together. They worked so well together. They showed amazing determination, especially troubleshooting things, especially related to learning how to use mapping software. That was really a big challenge. But you know, they would take the laptop home over the weekend and they just worked on it. So it was fun for me because I really didn't have to do that much. They just took it over.
And you know, that's why it's called independent research. So you guys were doing it the way we do it for the rest of our lives as adults. So remember, you are scientists. Now, what would you say to other kids who wanted to do the same thing that you're doing? How would you encourage them to get involved? Karen, I'll start with you this time.
It can sometimes be hard, especially at fairs with the field of science in astronomy, because astronomy is never a big category at fairs. It's not many projects, especially since it's hard to fit the science fair guidelines within an astronomy project. But don't let that get you discouraged. You know, if you find a program like ExMASS and you know, ask your teachers to help you get involved, and like just never give up on your field of interest, even if it seems difficult sometimes.
That sounds excellent. Pragati, can you tell us?
I think the most important part of this is to, you know, again what Karen said, but don't let your age kind of define like what you can do. I mean, there are some parts that kind of were kind of hard to wrap my mind around, some like when I was like calculating certain things. But the thing is, if you keep pushing through, then you can kind of see like where hard work takes you. And pretty much any person of age, if they work hard, they can achieve what they want to.
That is indeed the key. I have a t-shirt that says, "I'm not smarter than you, I just work harder." Delina, what would you say to people?
I think that, you know, this is kind of a cliche, but the most important thing is to talk to people. And I'm a bit hypocritical there because I'm definitely afraid to talk to people sometimes. But definitely, if you talk to your teachers and you talk to your friends and you talk to people you meet in the field, then they're the ones who really know what opportunities are there. And if you really want to get involved, that's the best thing to do, even though it's definitely difficult to do. But
yeah. And remember, you can email them. So it's much easier to introvert from a keyboard than to introvert while being forced to face-to-face. I admit to being an introvert. But we learn. And we have a great comment coming in from Kyle Carmichael out in the audience. He wrote in, "Smart, articulate, and driven teenagers give me hope for the future. You go, kids." And I think this is definitely the kind of, in today's world, we need things to hope on. And exploring the moon and finding water offers us a place to escape to if we need it. So thank you. Thank you for all of that. And I wonder, Richard, if you have any final words that you'd like to pass on to other science teachers out there to encourage them to push their kids to do what we've seen that these three were capable of.
I mean, I think you have to really believe in high standards, that never lowball your students, because they'll just do stuff that will really surprise you if you give them a challenge, and make sure that that challenge has meaning and it's a meaningful challenge, and support them, obviously. The other thing that I found really cool about this project was there's a lot of people out there, professionals in the scientific community, that are really willing to help young people. So most of the time I had no idea what they were doing. I had to find, if they said, oh, we can't do this or that, we needed to find people to help them. So the internet is made for that. So that is my best friend. So going online and just emailing people that you can't go wrong, and they'll just say, hey, I'll talk to your kids, or they give you ideas and they help you along. So, you know, use the resources out there and really put a lot of the burden on your students, and if they feel the responsibility, they'll come through for sure. And
I'm going to encourage all the young people out there who might be hearing this, and the three of you who are in here, to keep trying to do research. I had a fabulous summer opportunity. It wasn't actually summer, it was winter semester, where I went and did an internship at a telescope for a semester. And then I came back and wrote a letter to our local observatory. And my senior year of high school, I ended up reducing VLA data instead of flipping burgers like a normal teenager. And often, if you reach out to your local university, your local science center, your local research centers, there's going to be jobs. And the three of you on Long Island, you are so close to so many institutions, so many opportunities. And follow your dreams. Find that computer engineering, find that biochemistry, find that astrophysics. You all three have my email address. Don't be afraid to use it, and I will introvert from my keyboard back at you. So we're running out of time. This half hour has flown. Do any of you have any parting words that you want to leave our audience with this evening?
I just want to say one last thing. We talk about summer stuff. All three of them have gone on to do things. They sort of use this as a springboard to do stuff. So they've all been involved somehow in science this summer.
So I just keep doing what you're doing. It all sounds amazing. And I hope to see you at research conferences in the years to come. I may have to jump fields occasionally to do that. So it has been wonderful having you on. For those of you who joined late and aren't quite sure what you're watching, this has been a Center for Lunar Science and Exploration Hangout. We do this usually once a month on the third Wednesday of the month at 7:30 p.m. Central, which is 8:30 Eastern and 5:30 Pacific. Join us and give us a subscribe on YouTube. By subscribing, you will get an automatic notification when our shows go live. And if you miss us live, you can catch us, well, on YouTube. And we also are part of the 365 Days of Astronomy podcast. This production is jointly done by the Lunar and Planetary Institute and by the Astronomical Society of the Pacific's CosmoQuest project. So thank you for joining, and I hope to see you all next month and in our subscription list. So thanks, and have a great morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you may be in the world.